I'm with our co-host David Host, and this is another Family Foundation Friday. I'm your host Greg Williams, and thank you for joining us. David, thank you for being with us again.
It's good to be with you.
Thank you, brother. Now, just on a personal note, I know you had a little exciting event this week.
Yeah. One of my
Now,
daughters.
be careful. I know your wife is cautious on
Yeah,
this, right?
yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, no. One of my daughters is having a birthday, so we had a birthday party. We had a house full of girls earlier this week, Greg. So it was
the estrogen level was up.
They had a good time. No, we had a good time.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure
so,
you did.
and then my son, they had a soccer tournament this week in Louisville, and they won it.
Champions,
won
huh?
champions
Awesome.
of their age
Awesome.
bracket.
What age group is he now?
He's
I know you don't get-
he's in the he's 12, but it's mainly 12 and 13 year olds.
Okay.
So,
Wow. Awesome.
yeah.
Good deal. Well, Lexington Soccer does that often. You're fairly new here still, 3 years or so,
Yeah.
but Lexington Soccer is pretty strong, so
Yeah.
it's good that he's a part of that.
Yeah.
On that note, I got a little ray of sunshine here. My wife and I are heading to the beach here pretty soon for the first time to get away at all for nearly 4 years because of taking care of my
Yeah.
dad. And I've said many times that was a tremendous blessing.
Yeah.
We counted it a joy, even though it was difficult. But we did so, but we're looking forward to that, being able to rest and get away. We're trying to get things done,
Yeah.
so we can kind of leave it all behind for a
Yeah.
little while. So and really have a sabbatical,
Yeah.
at least for a week or so.
I hope you all have a great time.
Appreciate that. We're looking forward to it. She keeps saying, "Do you want to pack tonight and go down early?" So I love it that she's excited about that. With that said, though, there's a lot going on that we're going to talk about today, and probably the biggest thing right now is this study that's come out by our friends. We have some friends that have been involved in that, and you were on a call with that. Could you share with our listeners what's going on with that?
Yeah, there has been a really incredibly important new study that has been put out by the Ethics and Public Policy Center, who's now led by our friend Ryan Anderson.
Yes.
A friend of our movement, and I know the Family Foundation had Ryan here in Kentucky a number of years ago
Yes.
to speak at an event. But they have put a study out, and the title of the study kind of says it all: "The Abortion Pill Harms Women." And so this is a new groundbreaking study, the biggest data set that's ever been done, looking at the harms, the complications, adverse events, as they're called in this study, serious adverse events as it relates to taking the chemical abortion pill mifepristone. Now, a couple things just to set the stage. And we kind of want to do a deep dive in this because this is the landscape, this is the battleground in the battle for life right now.
And there's a lot of things here that are going to expose illegalities
Absolutely.
and cover why it's important that we
Yeah.
don't continue that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing we want to just state as a matter of principle to remind folks is the chemical abortion pill, when taken properly, ends in the death of a preborn child.
Number one, yeah.
So
Always.
regardless of the
Yes.
circumstance, there's always a quote-unquote adverse event.
Yes.
And it's the worst of all adverse events, a death of an image bearer created in the image of God.
Innocent, defenseless baby.
Right. But what we have seen is the continued proliferation of the chemical abortion pill. It's at least 60% of
Even since Dobbs, right?
even
This is
since
going on
Dobbs,
now. That's what I'm
even
talking
more
about, illegality.
But if you go back and look at when the FDA first approved the chemical abortion pill, they claimed that only 0.5% of women would experience an adverse event. And then what you
One out of every 200, essentially, right?
And so what you have seen since then is, the abortion industry, the pro-abortion leaders in D.C., including former President Obama, former President Biden, a series of actions taking away any safety precautions around. For example, I believe there used to be a requirement of maybe up to 3 in-person doctor visits required before
and then ongoing
right
care, I believe,
because
right?
it's very important that this pill for the safety of the mother is taken within a very narrow window very early in the pregnancy.
Right.
Unfortunately, again, so that it ultimately results in the death of an unborn child.
Yeah.
So that's the context of this. But what this new data has shown, and EPPC looked at a huge subset, I think it was between 800 and 900,000
Nearly a million, yes.
cases of when mifepristone, the chemical abortion pill, was prescribed, looking at insurance data on adverse events that happened related to that, taking place within 45 days after. And what their data shows is that actually women are almost 11%, of women experienced an adverse event. Do the math real quick. That means 22 times more likely to suffer an adverse event than what the FDA is currently claiming.
1 in every 9.
Yes.
Instead of 1 in every 200, and 1 in every 1 of babies.
Right.
As you've mentioned already.
Absolutely. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about sepsis, infection, hemorrhaging. We're talking about ectopic pregnancies.
And that's interesting because there's other issues involved with that type of thing.
Yes.
Because if they're not seeing a doctor regularly.
Right. So we know that an ectopic pregnancy is, I believe, as it relates to a pregnant woman actually passing away, dying. Yes. Ectopic pregnancy is what leads to that.
Yes.
Percentage wise, is the most common way in which a woman might lose her life during pregnancy. The problem as it relates to the chemical abortion pill is what has happened is sometimes women will take that pill, and if they have an ectopic pregnancy, the pill doesn't kill the unborn child. Right. The child keeps developing outside of the fallopian tube, and then women can confuse
because of the lack of oversight again, right?
They can confuse the complication from the ectopic pregnancy with thinking maybe that was just the abortion that took place.
Being aborted.
And again, so this is very serious stuff. We're talking about life and death type of medical issues, obviously for the unborn child, but also for the mother.
So what's the action on this that we're going to be asking people to do?
Right. So a couple things. I firmly believe that the FDA should revoke the approval altogether.
Yes.
That's what we're going to be calling for. I'm going to share a little bit more about that. I know there'll be others who may just be calling for some of these quote-unquote safety precautions to be put back in place. But look, at the end of the day, we have a new administration that's been very proactive in promoting pro-life policies, both the Trump administration when he was previously in office and some of the actions that he's done now.
And healthy lifestyles.
Right. We have a new
protecting the health
we've got
and lives
Robert
of
F.
people.
Kennedy Jr., who's now head of Health and Human Services. There's a new gentleman, a new person that's leading the FDA. We're going to be, we've already signed on to a joint letter with about 50 pro-life organizations put together by our friends at the Family Research Council, encouraging President Trump to take a serious look at this and highlighting, all these cases. Here's the other side of this too, Greg, is not only are we seeing the chemical abortion pill proliferate, we're seeing it proliferate in pro-life states too.
Yes.
In spite of the laws that we have. Yeah. And you're seeing, we know, it's pretty easy to access from overseas. And then what you're seeing is in other states are taking action to subvert the laws of pro-life states. So there's been a number of states, I think it's upwards of 18, most, prominently California and New York have passed these essentially.
DC.
Yes.
DC as well.
Essentially passed these quote-unquote shield laws, essentially abortion pill by Zoom shield laws, so that abortion doctors in these states can prescribe this pill to women in pro-life states to ensure that they are never held to account and essentially saying they're not going to cooperate with any state that seeks to hold someone accountable for shipping in a pill that ultimately kills one of their own citizens, and as we're talking about here, likely or has a high percentage chance of harming the mother as well.
Simply stated, we're going to allow you to break the law of another state and protect you in doing so.
Right.
There needs to be some federal, at least federal oversight of that.
Absolutely.
Right.
And President Trump has said, since since Roe was overturned in the Dobbs decision, that he's in favor of this being a state's issue. But here's the problem now: is states are interfering with other states' ability to have their laws enforced and life protected and women protected in their states. And so this is going to require some action. That's why we signed on to the letter with many of our allies to President Trump, and it's why ultimately we have an action alert encouraging folks to contact congressional leaders, so your congressional delegation here from Kentucky, as well as RFK Jr. as head of the Health and Human Services and the head of the FDA. You can go to our website, sign up on our email list, and take easy action. This is, as I said, this is the battleground now, and this data is as solid as it gets, painting a picture of how this is playing out in the real world.
Yes.
And in the real world, what the data is showing is that the abortion industry and those involved with pushing this pill are sacrificing the health of mothers while also continuing to take the lives of preborn children.
That's exactly right. And that's one of the things I think needs to be said in the letters and the action taken to RFK Jr. You have stood for health.
Yes.
You need to be consistent
Right.
and integral in all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Stand for health for everyone at all times. This is
If there's something
a prescription that is
Yeah.
that is causing death and all other adverse events.
Yeah.
Health events.
I mean, you've got the term now, MAHA, right?
Yes.
Make America Healthy Again,
Yeah.
which, RFK Jr. has been promoting. This is the
top of the list.
The top of the
Yeah,
list,
yes.
right? You're talking
Should
about
be.
exposing a pill that is killing human beings and, causing women to experience all kinds of very serious medical complications.
Long-term and everything. By the way, shout out, you could speak to this as well quickly, shout out to the Kentucky legislators that have taken action on a lot of this. There's more to be done, but they've taken action on a lot of these kind of things to help promote
as we
Kentucky as a
talked
pro-life
about
state.
in House Bill 90, I think this study just reinforces that we should be thankful for the proactive step they took to clarify some of our pro-life laws as it relates to some of these medical complications in pregnancy. And I think it also should hopefully, Lord willing, provide encouragement that next session we need to do something. And other states are considering right now different enforcement mechanisms to ensure to protect preborn babies in Kentucky and to protect mothers in Kentucky from the harms of the chemical abortion pill.
Exactly right. Got to take that to heart. By the way, it just reminds us of something we've been talking about the last few weeks. Continue to pray and take action against Planned Parenthood and to have Planned Parenthood defunded.
Absolutely.
Because they are at the front and center of almost all of this.
Absolutely.
In some way or another. So keep that going. KentuckyFamily.org. Kentucky Family, all spelled out, .org. You can find out more. You were yesterday. You were at a special event.
Yeah, yesterday was the, I believe, 74th annual, someone can fact check me, National Day of Prayer. We had team members attend various events. But look, even I hope you were able to participate in an event or take time out of the day to pray for families, for our government.
Yeah.
I mean, we know
Every
Christ
arena.
is Lord over all.
That's right.
And but look, even if you, as we were talking about before, as Christians, we should be praying every day. Every day should be a quote unquote national day of prayer
for us. Yeah.
And so encourage folks to pray, and a reminder too that we send out prayer devotionals.
Yes. Sounds like you may have read my book, and even more importantly, you read the Bible.
Yes.
Because that's what we're called to do. So,
Yes.
hey, thank you for joining us. Thanks for your prayers. Thanks always to the Lord. I'm Greg Williams, and with co-host David Walls, and you're listening to Family Foundation Friday on the Authority.